Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be Changeling taking on SharpenedEdge, saying warning, sharp edge / point hazard. And yes, both of these bots can be pretty dangerous. I do think we're pretty lucky to have SharpenedEdge back and on the ladder. So I kind of want to show off a few of its games, as it's a very good Protoss bot. And yes, we'll just see if it can give Changeling a run for its money. I think this game might be a little bit chaotic, but we shall see. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, you guys are the best at it. You always blow it out of the water. If we could hit 43 likes on this video, that would be amazing. Leave a comment down below saying more bots, or just write gibberish down there. It all helps with the YouTube bot. And then subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I think we're almost at 12,000 subscribers, which is definitely exciting. And yeah, let's see where this one goes. We do have a little bit of probe harassment from SharpenedEdge as Changeling pulls the injured SCV back to heal it up. How nice. Good to see that SCVs do indeed have healthcare. And then we do have a Reaper on the way for Changeling. Looks like Changeling does actually have an idle SCV, though. That guy was hanging around for a little bit, not doing much. What's he going to do now? Factory. So that's what he was waiting for. And then Changeling just, going for this 2-gas play, while SharpenedEdge scouts out, goes for a late expo of its own. And now SharpenedEdge is floating quite a bit of money here, as it's a little bit bottlenecked on gas, which makes me wonder, is it going to be building a Stargate, something like that? And I think that probably will be the case. SharpenedEdge is a very good Protoss bot, however, the builds are not necessarily as optimized as they could be. For example, it kind of waits for things to happen before it moves on to the next step. So it does build a Stargate, but for example, this entire time it could have had a Nexus building, as it was floating over 400 minerals and had no other use for them. It's little efficiencies like that I think are very important when it comes to programming bots. But again, everything you see in that these bots doing is a lot of work. Reaper micro has to be programmed, defensive Stalker micro has to be programmed, and everything has to be considered. So we do have SharpenedEdge saying tag build rush Tempest. So we are continuing on with the Tempest rush saga. As the Reaper of Changeling jumps into the main, it will see that there is a Stargate, sees the main base. Changeling behind this does have its command center on the way. It's getting up a siege tank, but there's the fleet beacon for SharpenedEdge. And then SharpenedEdge saying tag rush macro. But yes, SharpenedEdge is floating a lot of money while doing this build. It's even floating energy. So it's not necessarily optimized. It could have chrono boosted out a probe earlier or something, and that would have been fine. And yes, so for now, we just wait for the first Tempest to start on up, as Changeling will have to respond to this, and these rushes are not easy to handle for any bot. We've yet to really see a bot that consistently defeats things like Tempest rushes. There's bots that definitely do okay versus it, but there's not a bot that wins the majority of those games, I don't think, as it is a cheese that I think is probably easier to program than it is to defend against. We do have Changeling with another lazy SCV for me to nitpick, and he knows. I called him out, and he goes right back to work. We have Cloak on the way here for Changeling, so that could be nice as well. I'm not sure of the level of SharpenedEdge's defense against things like Cloak Banshees. We do have that first Tempest moving out. We finally get a Nexus up for SharpenedEdge, but this is one of the things, and I think it's mainly just in the Tempest build that it has, that it's like, okay, you could have built that Nexus a long time ago. Bots tend to have a lot of extra minerals. Now, Let's see here, as this Tempest does come on in, it's going to fly right into a Banshee, gets a shot off on it, and then the Tempest is going to work. It's going to start by shooting a supply depot, but that's going to take a long time in order to burn down. There's no Teutonic destabilizers. A second Tempest is coming in. It will actually run into the Banshee. Now, this is important for the defense of SharpenedEdge to keep those Banshees occupied, and Changeling all of a sudden has to deal with Tempest, and I'm not sure how it's going to manage that. It's got 4 tanks, it's building a Medivac, there is 2 starports, so it could be producing Vikings, but for now it is just building a Medivac. There is potential for the Banshees to get some counter damage done. Changeling says this is a good time to build a command center. Spoiler alert, it is not a good time to build a command center. The Banshee is going to cloak for Changeling, maybe get by the Tempest. Sometimes you don't have to defend if you can counterattack, and there is potential that this Banshee could get lots of damage done on the other side of the map. We do have Marines trying to deal with the Tempest at the natural as this game is heating up and getting a little crazy. Finally, Changeling does begin building Vikings, which is definitely important when it comes to defending this. It's kind of just sandbagging versus these Tempest. I see now why bots like LaughNgamez do go for the Teutonic destabilizers, as, I mean, Tempest with Teutonic destabilizers kill buildings so quickly. The Banshee is eating some Tempest shots, and so well done to this Tempest for defending against that, as I think that Banshee will go kaput. We do have 1 Viking versus 1 Tempest. This is actually going to be a bit of a close battle. The Viking's getting repaired. He's got friends. The Tempest does not. And so the Viking is a hero and slays that Tempest. That is a big, big win for Changeling. So good repair behavior there as SharpenedEdge just continues to do its thing. It's got a few slow Zealots running in, but they are not going to amount to much as SharpenedEdge pulls that Tempest back. Changeling is doing quite a good job defending this, as we do have yet another Tempest rolling on in. But so far, no crazy snowball on the Tempest, which is one of the things that this rush relies upon. It relies upon getting up like 3-4 Tempest, begin one-shotting those Vikings, that kind of thing. Whereas SharpenedEdge didn't quite pull that off with losing one of those Tempest. And then just honestly attacking the buildings, I think, delayed a lot of potential damage. So very good response by Changeling. The double starport is nice since it can produce, well, 2 Vikings at a time without a reactor. Blink is now on the way for SharpenedEdge, so it is going into a more rounded composition behind this. Just sitting on 2 bases for now. We do have observers with the army of SharpenedEdge as well, which is nice to see that it's got that detection. And then we do get a 3rd Nexus on the way for the Protoss. However, Changeling is already going up to its 4th command center, despite having that one canceled before. So now SharpenedEdge is on the defense. It's got 4 slow Zealots moving in and 3 Tempest in order to try and defend this attack. Most of the Marines are already gone, so I do think that Changeling could not have enough firepower here. Auto turrets getting thrown down definitely are helping, softening up some of these Tempests. The injured ones are pulling back, but yeah, the Tempest target fire not going down on the Vikings, going down on the avoidable turrets. SCVs repairing the Vikings as well is ginormous for the Terran. A nice scan goes down too to keep vision on some of these units. And yeah, the Tempest for SharpenedEdge targeting the tank when there's Vikings nearby is not ideal. I mean, dealing with the tanks could actually benefit it if it, say, warps in some stalkers or something like that, but I'm a little concerned as these Tempests are going down, whereas the Vikings are staying alive. SCV is getting picked off. That's a big deal. The natural nexus of SharpenedEdge is in some trouble. Some more Zealots have been warped in. Charge is researching, but it would have been nice if that was done much earlier. These 2 Tempests have not been dealt with as Changeling is focused on the front with the Vikings, so the Vikings kind of just sharking around, rather injured since the SCVs were not properly repairing them there. I think they might have been repairing the tanks instead, and so it looks like we do actually get a cleanup here from SharpenedEdge. So the Protoss bot hangs on. It's not a comfortable position at all for SharpenedEdge. We see that it's 42 probes against 68 SCVs. The Terran going up to a 5th command center. If that's going to be a 5th orbital, that is a lot of mule money that it will be bringing in. We do have charge just about 20 seconds out. We've got double Immortal production as well, and Immortals are very good units for bots to control. And then the two Tempest are doing what they can. Everything on the ground is getting killed, though. And then, yeah, Changeling struggling to dive on top of these Tempest, even though there definitely would have been an opportunity there. But again, it's incredibly difficult to program that diving behavior. And it seems that SharpenedEdge has wholly abandoned the Tempest production too, so just building Immortals right now. And I mean, Immortals are good units, so I definitely don't hate it, as they've got high HP, pretty high damage, which makes them good to micro with as bots struggle to focus fire all the time. Stalker's getting warped on in now as well. Can SharpenedEdge, potentially with just a very strong unit composition, be able to get enough efficiency to overcome Changeling, as Changeling hasn't been leaving too much with these pushes? I am interested in the Vikings from Changeling. Like, I think this is just general Changeling behavior, where it's just bringing the Vikings to aid the tanks, not necessarily as an anti-Tempest element. Was that a double scan from Changeling, or am I just... I think that's 2 scans in there, but don't quote me on that. As, yeah, Changeling moves forward, SCVs in the push. There is now stim for these Marines, but just not enough units here. So Changeling needs to make use of its crazy good economy and get that production rolling. We do have 8 racks up, which is nice to see. It's adding on more. Changeling and Phobos in the past have been known for building a ridiculous amount of barracks. How many it's going to have this game, I'm not sure, but combat shields on the way. There is already 1-1 done for the bio, so I mean, these Marines are definitely formidable, and as production ramps up, things will be getting better and better. Stalkers running into the 1 tank definitely is a little painful. So well done to that tank, getting some good shots off. I'm not sure where the Vikings are presently, just back home grouping up with these SCVs as Changeling continues to pour units down the center of the map, trying to break SharpenedEdge, which is just chilling on 3 bases right now. Marines stimming on in. But man, oh man, look at this Protoss army. There is no shortage of units here for SharpenedEdge. 9 Immortals in the mix. And you're going to need more than 9 Marines to kill 9 Immortals, Changeling. So I do think Changeling needs to group up a little bit more here. The +2 attack finishing will definitely help it out, as the Terran army continues to improve. Combat shield's done, but really Changeling is just in attack mode. It just needs to chill for a minute, build up its army, and it would be able to outproduce SharpenedEdge. Marines are just running on in, skirmishing with these units. The tank is at least getting some nice shots off in the back, but SharpenedEdge does clean that up. Now sitting at 11 Immortals. How many Immortals are we going to have this game? I do not know, but the numbers are ridiculous, as Changeling is going to try pushing on in once more. Changeling isn't leaving empty-handed every fight, picking off an Observer. It might even get one of the Tempest here, and it does. So the Tempest getting dealt with is quite nice. I do wonder if we'll see the Vikings land potentially if that last Tempest goes down, but I'm not sure. I think Changeling generally uses them for vision in the way that it takes its fights. We do have +2 armor on the way. Extra ship weapons going up. Changeling taking yet another base. Meanwhile, SharpenedEdge is just trying to get up its 4th base. We'll see if it can save it. I think it's definitely got enough units to do so right now, as Stalkers and Immortals are just grouped up to an extreme degree. I think now really would be the time for SharpenedEdge to go for it. The supply is very misleading when a lot of Changeling's supply is caught up in Vikings in the sky. So SharpenedEdge is potentially crossing the map here and going for it as it picks off 1 more tank. Stalkers on the ground are very important to help zone these Vikings out. And the Vikings are kind of just useless here. They don't shoot, unless they're landed, they cannot fight these Immortals. So SharpenedEdge bringing the heat to Changeling, and despite Changeling's incredible production and better upgrades by far, the Protoss just has a better composition. Changeling has built too many Vikings here that it doesn't need. Looks like SCVs are keeping this tank alive, which is very nice, as SharpenedEdge does back off after that successful attack forward. It definitely could have gone further, though. But still, that was a nice fight. And look at this. This is just so many Immortals. How do you even deal with an army that's 15, soon to be 17 Immortals strong? We are getting another Tempest from SharpenedEdge, but that is just comical. I would really love to see some Forge upgrades here from the Protoss. I mean, Immortals are good, but like Marines with 2/2 do pretty darn well against them. Probes being pulled into auto turrets. It's a tough life as the Protoss moves down to secure this 4th base once more. SharpenedEdge will parry the attack of Changeling as tanks are getting gobbled up. And yeah, Changeling is just way too eager to attack on in here. The supplies are incredibly misleading, with most of Changeling's supply being caught up in these Vikings, which are not really doing too much at this point. Another Viking goes down, and I honestly kind of hope Changeling doesn't rebuild them, as they are quite useless. Just build 200 Marines, Changeling, and I think you've got this. But again, it's programming bots. It's not that easy. These bots are programmed for overall performance, not for individual games necessarily. And Changeling is definitely, when it plays Terran anyways, definitely programmed to attack, attack, attack. And that's exactly what it's been trying to do. It is able to sustain these ridiculous trades by dropping lots of mules, 6 on the field at a time. Really boosts up the Terran income. And I mean, the SCV count definitely is misleading here, as there's, oh gosh, how many is that? That's like a solid 12 SCVs pulled off the line just trying to repair these units nonstop. Changeling has built up a bit more of an army than previous attacks, 27 Marines, but still there's 19, soon to be 21 Immortals, which is just an unholy amount of Immortals. Can Changeling get this base though, or are the Immortals going to save the day? And I think the answer to that is pretty clear, as 1 Marine does not equal 1 Immortal, even with 2/2 upgrades. So SharpenedEdge holds on to the critical base. SharpenedEdge is just about maxed out, and Changeling's constant attacks have not been enough to handle this. The Stalkers are getting on top of yet another tank. They're blinking around, engaging these Marines. SharpenedEdge has pulled back most of its units here, as a few Stalkers out on the map are still skirmishing, but the army definitely has split up a little bit. It would be better if SharpenedEdge was either doing all or nothing right now. Instead, it's kind of middle of the roading it, but I guess the 2 Tempest are doing okay. Will the rest of the units come out to help or not? These Immortals seem unbothered, as some Stalkers warp in, trying to hunt down a random Viking. And they do get it, so very cool blink micro there from SharpenedEdge. The 2 Tempest on the front lines are being slapped on down. Changeling is now heading into +3 attack versus no upgrades for SharpenedEdge. This is one of the more goofy bot games I've ever seen. I do think SharpenedEdge could definitely have ended this if it does go for the push, and it is now moving towards the natural of Changeling. Marines engaging Immortals, but that is a hopeless fight for them. Can tanks maybe on the high ground pick off some of these Immortals? Marines are trying to buffer, and there is quite a few tanks sieged up in the back, and Immortals are good, but tanks still pack a good wall up. I mean, they're really getting some shots off. Not all of the tanks are sieged up, though. It's time for the SCVs to sacrifice themselves to try and hold the line, but I think the line has been broken, and SharpenedEdge still has 20 non-upgraded Immortals here. So, yes, I think this game is just a very good example of how difficult it is to program into your bot when it should attack or when it should not attack. We saw, like, yeah, it's just very difficult. Changeling, it was just doing what it was supposed to do, which is pretty much constantly push, not really realizing that if it just built up a few more units, it would have had a lot more success. I mean, I do think maybe you could play around with that a little bit, like change thresholds or something. But yes, and again, if your bot is just designed to be a pushing bot, that's just what you work with. Yeah. And okay, we do have 2 more tanks sieged up in a corner, as they are getting some shots off, but that is not going to be enough here for Changeling. Well done to SharpenedEdge, still old but gold. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this match, click that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and consider becoming a YouTube member if you do want to support these daily casts. Big thanks to everyone who does that. Yeah, if you want to see more goofy bot games with 25 Immortals, just let me know. GG.